This company just had a massive drop, y'all, and I'm gonna show us how we gonna get some money with it. That's right. Today, we gonna get inside the chart. We're gonna look at a daily chart, a 4-hour chart, and a 1-hour chart, and see how it all comes together so we can execute on a sweet play right here. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna tell y'all where I personally would get in this play so we can make some money together. It's your boy, the Wall Street Chapman, man. Today we're gonna look at Palo Alto, P-A-N-W, yo. This play had an unexpected drop the other night, and it just went down. A lot of red pressure, a lot of selling pressure, and then after that, it made an acquisition. The market didn't like that, really made it gap all the way down. And if I'm talking some talk that you don't understand, that's why we're gonna get on a chart. So before we get into that, man, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and share this video. I've been getting a lot of good compliments. People been saying, Trap, yo, we love to see you on the charts, bro. It's making it so much better. Well, we're going to take it to another level. Instead of me being on a whiteboard, we're going to get on the chart and see it step by step. So let's go, man. Get your pen, get your pad. And I always say this, y'all. Watch me on the chart, but also have your laptop out looking at what I'm looking at so you can see it the same way. Before we get into all that, man, I need you to like, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to share this video. Comment and tell us, what do you think about it? Let's get into it, y'all. All right, so right now we are looking at Palo Alto, ticker symbol PANW, right? And one of my favorite things, y'all know what I always tell y'all is before you move right, meaning before you make a trade expecting it to do whatever on the right, we gotta first look left. Because if you look left, it's gonna tell you how to move right. I want you to always keep that in your mind when you're about to make a trade. Before I do anything to go right, I'm gonna look left. And if I understand what happens when I look left, it's gonna show me how to move right. All right. So let's get into it, man. All right. So first and foremost, on the block, we got Palo Alto, P-A-N-W, ticker symbol P-A-N-W. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dig into it. So we see this candle right here. Current price right now is 184. It was down all the way to 176. Now let's get into the elephant in the room, right? The first thing we see is this massive selling pressure right here, right? Now what that tells us is there was a lot of selling pressure right here. So before we go any further, we identified the current price and we identified where it came from. That's the first thing we got to do first and foremost. Now, what we want to do is identify what is the structure that we're in, right? Y'all know me, it's your boy Trap. I love market structure. That's the thing that I truly have been on. So not only market structure, but candle communication, meaning what are the candles saying to one another, right? So in this video, we're going to break all that down. So what do we see? Coming off this low right here, what we see is this is an uptrend. We see is in an uptrend. Now, what is the current trend? So there's a major trend and there's a minor trend. The minor trend is this trend right here, this swing low to swing high, right? What is the minor trend? Don't worry about the current price because that's where we at. But where did the current price come from? Well, it comes from this swing low, which is 186. 186. Yep. So this current swing low, it comes from 186. And then it hit all-time high, which is 210. Let's keep that in mind. You'll see my blue screen, my blue dotted line across there that lets us know we come from 210. All right. Now, so the overall structure is what? Uptrend, which means higher highs and higher lows, right? So now let's look a little further. We see we had an all-time high at 210 right here. And let's see if we got that any other time. And yes, we did. So we see right here, we hit 210 back in February. So in February, we hit 210 and it came down. Now, here's the dope part I want to see about this. What I like about right here is it hit 210 again, all-time high. And then here's what I learned about the market too. There's always some type of news or something that come around, whether a stock hit an all-time high, whether it hits a psychological level, anything like that, right? So that was kind of interesting that it hit this all-time high at 210 and then got all of this pressure. Now, let's look at something that's real interesting right here, right? What we notice is right here, this candle right here is really important because this candle is going to signal a reversal, right? This candle here signals that this is about to reverse. And it's important that we notice that. This tells us that sellers came in, right? And sellers came in and was like, hey, we got to change the game. And because it's at the top of this right here, because it's at the top of this trend, and you'll see this time and time again. When you see this at the top of a trend, you see this candle right here at the top of a trend, you can almost always bet that a reversal is coming. And then we get this selling pressure right here. So once we get this selling pressure here, now mind you, we still never touched, this is important, this is why looking left is so important. We haven't been back to 210, the all-time high, since, and actually it was 208. Yep, so it was 208 was the all-time high. So we haven't been back to that area since then. So, and that was in February, Valentine's Day. All right. So what are we saying right here? What is we going? So we see this uptrend happening, right? We see this uptrend happening right here. We see sellers push the pressure here, and then we see it stop right here. Now, what do I see right here is, I see this move right here. I'm looking real close, y'all. Let's open it up. That's what I like to do. Open it up so we can see it. So what we see is this pressure right here. Now, why did it stop here? Now, we notice this green candle right here, not the wick, but the body, is at the bottom of this body, right? Right at the bottom. Those two bottoms align. Now, why does that matter to me? That matters to me because it lets me know at some point, right, that was a form of like support. And why do I get that from? Because we look right here, we see that same body, right? We see these touches right here. We see this body right here on this red candle, not the wick, but the body of this red candle where I'm pointing at, and then the body of this green candle, right? So it sat right there again. But if we go back, let's see what this represents. Where can we find another touch after this, right? Because what I like to do is navigate through all of that so we can find what's going on, and we can find out like where this chart is moving and what this chart is telling us and where this chart is going to basically go next. All right, so let's go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to say on this 1 hour, on this daily chart, there's a demand area around 179 based off this bounce. So we see this bounce happen down here. Now, what I like about this is when we look at this wick right here, right, where this was a red candle that came down and then buyers pushed it back up, right? What happened is what we saw was that wick fell right here at the bottom of this this green candle, which was the start of this move. So what we see is we see a move up, we see a base consolidate right here, a gap up, some consolidation, then you see a gap down, and after that gap down right here, which is lined up on here, we see a move up, right? You see a move up, and we see some pressure, slight move up, pressure, slight, a trend up. We like that. But let's go look at the 4 hour and see what that tells us. Okay, so we're going to go to this 4 hour chart right here. Now, we see a rally to all-time high, and we see a rejection. We're still above our 20-day, which is good, right? We're above our 20-day, which is good. And then we see a rejection at 210. Then we see a free fall on this intraday trade right here that passes up support levels with a little pause. And then that indicates that institutional selling has stepped in. Right? The institutional selling has stepped in. Now, here's the important part about this. As long as it stays on top of this right here, which is 186, we're okay. But what happened was the news after hours gapped it all the way down. So it took for some news to come in to break this structure. Now, I want to show you something again on the daily. This marries that. If we stay above the 186, as long as this selling pressure doesn't break 186, we're okay, right? But it took some news to push us down past 186. So that's important because it's a good chance that it would have stayed on top of this 186 right here. Without that news, it wouldn't have broke this structure. But because that news, that made it break structure. So now we have a BOS, which we'll call a BOS, when we write BOS, we'll put a line right here. Watch this, y'all. We'll put a line right here. Right here. We'll put a horizontal line right here. And on top of it, we'll type BOS. And that means break a structure. All right. So now we can see. So we have a break of structure right here. So this, because it broke this structure, right there, because it broke, now, if we see, well, Trap, how is that a structure? Because now we get a low. We get a lower low, right? We get a lower low, and we get a lower high. We get a lower high. And so now this becomes the structure, because from here, this started that uptrend on the daily. This is the start of this uptrend, which broke, watch this, that broke the 205. This broke the 205, which is the high where this came from. And then this candle broke the 210. And then we had the free fall, right? We had the free fall. So let's go back to this 4-hour chart right quick. So what do we see here, y'all? What do we see here? Let's tap in. Let's see what we see here. Again, we see it comes down, it falls right on this, right? Which what? Comes right here, right? So that 186 puts us right here on this structure right here, on these two candles. Let me circle that. All right, so that structure puts us right on top of these two candles, and then we get this. All right, then we get what? A gap down, right? Where's this gap down come at? Like, I always like to see where it's at. Now we look, this body of this candle over here is right at the body of this right here. Look at that. That wick puts us right there. All right, so then we get this move here, which is up, and then this uptrend, which is cool. We get a little something right there. But then the next thing we get is this free for all. We get this free for all. Now that's important because it tells us that this pressure from this 205 had a sell-off, bounced on the 186, bounced back up. So the 186 became the pressure, the support for us, right? This is the structure line. So as long as we stay on top of this, we are right. Now, again, we was above our 20-day on the 4-hour chart, but then we gapped down. Okay, not a problem with that. Not a problem with that. And then we go to the 1 hour. So as we get to the 1 hour, let's see what we got here. All right, so as we get into the 1 hour, we're looking at this from multiple time frames. Now, what we see here is short-term bullish. We get the bounce off the 175 right here. So we get these three. We get these three. And then we just making sure everything line up, right? So from here, what does this tell us? We get this massive sell-off here, right? But watch this. I truly think that if I'm looking at this, here's our 186 again. So that shows us we good. And then we see this uptrend happening. And then we see the sell-off, right? So we watching this happen in real time. And we watching the stock right now at 183. So here's what I like about this, right? Let's get into it. If I'm looking at it on the 1 hour, I'm gonna close it up a little bit to make it make sense. What I would like to see here, if I'm looking at this play to get in it, I wanna see this play jump above. I don't mind getting in it right here, but I would definitely like to see it go above this 186, right? I would like to see it get above this 186, which would be important, right? So it can get back on top of this trend. Now let's go back to the daily and look at it. Okay. Yep. So here we go. I would like to see this get on top of this 186 more than anything. Get on top of this 186 line to get back in motion right there. All right, so I think if we get back on 186, we'll be good. More than anything though, I'll be honest with you, a better look would be it getting on top of this 190. Because then it'll jump back. 193 would be really good if it jumped back on top of 193. Right? If it jumped back on top of 193, because then it'll overtake this red candle. It'll overtake this selling pressure right here. Because you're at all-time high in this blue sky, that's a whole new area. But if it can jump back on top of maybe 193, I like that because it'll be done ate these orders back up and fill this gap back up. Right? So if it jumps on top of 193, fill these orders in at 193, jump on top of this, that'll be good. From 193, I think we'll fight it from 193 to about maybe, I think from 193 to, I'll say 200. Right? Because you want to go past this selling, you want to get into the body of this. If I can eat that up. So if I can get into that 190, 193, that'll be good. We can overtake this candle right here. I like overtaking those sellers, and it'll fill this gap up right here. But then if once we pass this body, half of this body at 200, that'll put us above this selling pressure right here. Once we get above this at 200, I think from 200 to 210 is an easy call, right? So if I'm looking at this play and I'm thinking about how I want to get in Palo Alto, right? We looked at it. Let's look at it and see what we look at on the 4 hour. Same play. We get above it at 101. Yep, we get above it at 190, right? We hop on top of this candle right here, right? And then we take this out with the selling pressure at 200, which as I said, then look, it's crazy that because if you look at this on the daily, you see one candle, right? You see one candle, the middle of this candle, 200. But if you look at it on a 4 hour, watch this. You get on top of this candle. So now you take all this out. If you get on top of 200, you take all of that selling pressure out. And now you're inside. You've now recovered all of this. You fill this gap up and you recover all of this. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to get on it on top of 190, get over that. And then once you get past 200, I think you see blue skies all the way to 210. So for me, if I'm you, I'm looking to get in Palo Alto, I'm looking at it and saying, yo, if this thing can jump past 190, that'll be a good way for me to get in because I'll get back on top of that. You'll fill this gap up right here, right? You'll fill this gap up right here. You get at it on 190, you fill that gap up. From 190, you want to watch it. And if I get in at 190, I'm going to be honest with you, it could come back to 176. But what I'll do, if you get in that 190, I say you put your stop loss somewhere right here at 184. At 184, the top of this, I put my stop loss at 183, 184. That's good enough because that'll put you right at this floor. You don't got to go all the way down. But I think from 190, you watch it get to 200 because now you'll overtake this candle right here. You're into the body of that. From 200, you go to all the way to 210. I see it. Let me know how you feel. Let me know how you rocking. Let me know how you feel about Palo Alto. I think that play can definitely take about maybe 2, 3, maybe, for me, it's 90 days or more. I'm definitely putting 90 days or more on that play. So let me know how you see that play. Let me know how you feel about it. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper. We talking about Palo Alto, getting back in it, making some bread. Let's go, man. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share this out, man. Salute.